All right, folks, how you doing? Welcome back to McGold Riffs, episode number 43. Again, they haven't kicked us off the air. They haven't canceled us at all. And I'm with a major league monster today, Mr. Mike Valeras. Did I do it right?
Valeras.
Valeras. Great guitar player, local guy from the Boston area, who's now down in Nashville. And let's go through his bio a little bit here. With over 25 years in guitar performance and education, Mike has garnered a reputation as one of the most respected musicians, composers, and guitar instructors in Nashville. And I truly believe Nashville, probably right now, next to Boston, has the best guitar players in the world because everybody moves there. Having honed his skills in the rich musical breeding ground of our fair city, Boston, Mike earned his BM in music education. We got to talk about that, man, because I was Mus Ed major as well.
Oh wow!
You know, probably 20 years before, from Berkeley College of Music, and his master's in performance at University of Massachusetts. Lowell. Was it Lowell with Fred Buddha?
He was there. I studied with John Wheatley.
I used to play with his. I played with his son a few times.
Oh,
monster bass player.
That's great.
Yeah. In addition, he spent 5 years under the tutelage of the legendary jazz educator, as everybody did, Charlie Benarcos, and I never did. I was too afraid to.
We were all afraid.
But Mike Stern, Wayne Krantz, Jeff Berlin, who else? Everybody in the business.
Yeah.
And he was, he was probably maybe 20 years older than me. I know he's passed. But he was around Boston in the 70s, right?
Legend. Yep.
Yeah. Mike has worked with many of the industry's most respected musicians, including Steve Vai. We got to talk about that. And you got to interrupt me if I go crazy and I skip things, because I want to talk about Stephen Vai.
That's fine.
John Schofield, Billy Sheehan, and don't we have a video of you backing up Stephen Vai?
Whether we're allowed to use that or not.
Okay, let's hold on there, because that will screw things up. Billy Sheehan, Larry Coryell, Keith Carlock, and we'll talk about that. Jeff Berlin, Kirk Covington, Chester Thompson, and others. Mike is a professor now. I should call you Professor Mike, right?
Mike is fine.
Yeah, of guitar at Belmont University, and that's a school with a lot of good. I want to talk about that because I don't know much about it. Yeah. And has also served in the faculty of Berkeley College of Music's guitar sessions, which is a big deal. Johnson University and Guitar Workshop Plus. He's a contributing clinician for the Diodario Education Collective. I don't really know anything about that. He offers courses of private study to any musician, artist, or writer, not just guitar players.
Singer-songwriters as well.
Okay.
But guitar.
Cool. Yeah. Who wishes to expand their music vocabulary. And I want to talk about that because I'm I really key in on music theory as being a hidden sort of secret of mine that I've used for years, that it's amazing how many musicians don't. I don't know how you play over changes unless you understand harmony, but and if you take a look at what we just played, there's some complex things there where you really are going into some different keys there that you just navigated perfectly. Many of Mike's former students have gone on to perform with some of the most well-known names in music. I want to talk about that because that's nothing more gratifying, right?
It's great.
You know? In addition to his sideman work in Nashville, Mike continues to push the parameters of modern jazz with his own projects, and I'm going to screw up your Mike Valeras Trio, which also has 4 independent albums and received notable press worldwide. Okay, so let's start at the beginning.
Okay.
I kind of ballpark know how old you are,
all right,
and I'm not going to release that information.
I'm proud, man.
But
I'm 50.
You know,
I'm 50 this year.
Yeah, 50
I'm
and proud, man. It's a lot of years to go for you, you know.
Doesn't bother me.
So, what year? How old were you when the first? How did it start, Mike?
Music in general?
Yes.
Well,
and then guitar.
On guitar, okay. Well, I took accordion first.
I saw that on you.
Took accordion first. So, my folks were huge Lawrence Welk fans.
Right.
So Myron Florin. You know what I mean? It's just like, that's a good instrument. We had.
And the guitar players on Lawrence, they were
amazing.
Good.
Yeah.
I mean, you had to play back in those days,
right?
And you had to be able to read.
But the lead thing on that show was the accordion a lot of times, right? So there was a little accordion studio down the street from where I grew up in Lowell.
Yeah.
And so my parents signed me up, and I played accordion for a few years. Did all the competitions.
How old?
Oh, man, I was like 6 or 7.
Okay.
This thing was huge. I was a little chubby kid. like this, going to competition.
You get the buttons on the left and the keys on your right.
Yeah.
What are those? Is that bass?
That's like the bass part. Yeah.
Okay, it's like a C here. You play a C chord there.
Yeah, but it's just like all in weird places. You
But
got to
you
like
also
fish
have
around
to
for it.
the melody with harmony, like what a lot of jazz guitar players do.
Yeah. I remember. I mean, I was so young, so you assimilate quickly. So to me, it was just like, yeah, I can do this. So everything was all well and good until MTV hit. Right? So.
And MTV, I was looking this up on your bio too. Was 1982, 83?
80, yeah. What, it was 82 maybe? Or
In that
81
ballpark.
MTV. Somewhere, whenever early 80s
Yeah,
when
well, you
MTV.
were about 10.
I was about 10. So who's the only accordion player on MTV at the time?
None.
Weird Al Yankovic.
Oh, weird. I didn't even know
so
Al
the
played that.
only person I saw on MTV was like a Weird Al Yankovic video. I'm like, man, but everyone else is going crazy over Eddie Van Halen, you know? But you know what got it for me? This is what got me playing guitar. I went into the family room. I had told my parents I wasn't into accordion anymore. I turned on MTV, right? And
What is that?
Somebody by Bryan Adams.
Oh. Oh, yeah.
Right? I heard that Keith Scott play that, man, and it was like the most melodic, groovy. I was like, what is that sound? That nice, like, single coily strap. And
Right,
I was like,
right.
And I went into the kitchen. I'm like, Mom, I want to play guitar really bad. Can I play guitar, you know?
Yep.
She's like, you just quit accordion? I don't know. And I just kept bugging them. And then so
And you
it
got
was
4 years into accordion. I saw.
something
3
like
or
that.
4 years.
Something
yeah.
like that, yeah. And,
I'm amazed, let me interrupt you there, that you didn't go into keys.
Yeah.
A lot. My best friend, whom I'm best friends to this day, he was an accordion player,
Yeah.
ethnic. Your family
Greek.
might have been Greek.
Yeah.
He was Italian, and accordion was a big thing
Yeah,
with the ethnic music.
Yeah,
back
yeah,
then.
absolutely.
And he is a great keyboard player.
Yeah.
But you already knew that.
It was that
You know, 'cause,
video, man.
You know,
it was Bryan Adams.
When you teach, do you teach kids at all?
Not so much these days, but I did in the past
But
quite a bit.
I always used to like to have a keyboard around just to
Yeah.
see how this is. They have 2 black keys and 3 black keys. You notice where there's no black key here. No, you see on guitar is a grid. E and F are, but you can't see it.
Yeah.
As you can
this is a
with-
nightmare. This is a geometrical nightmare. We have 1,
Exactly.
2,
It's a
3, 4,
It's like
5 middle
graphing
C's.
paper. You know what I mean? It's like, again, it's like, to this day, I still try to tell people,
Why we decided
it's
to
really
do this
hard. Even this
monstrosity is
one
crazy.
student I still have. I only have one student left, and just trying to get him to learn the notes of the guitar.
It's hard.
You could take a 4-year-old, teach them where C is. And they could tell you C and E anywhere on the keyboard. So let's not go down that rat hole.
Yeah.
So, what was that first guitar? When were you? Like 11? When did that first
let's
guitar
see.
come?
So I started taking lessons.
Let me interrupt you there. See,
Yeah,
here
yeah.
I go again. Were you reading it all with accordion?
Yes.
So again,
Yeah, so I already
you
knew
what
how
a
to read.
half note
Yeah,
was. You knew
absolutely,
what a flat
absolutely.
was. In 99, we've talked about this in the show, 99% of guitar players don't. Why? Because C, F, and G,
Yeah.
5,000 songs.
Yeah. Right.
And that's all you need to know. You don't need to know that is a C, that's a E. It's like, there's no need. And that's
a
where
deep
we
rabbit
go
hole.
wrong.
That's a deep rabbit hole to go down. Is like, what should be taught when and how much.
Right,
how
and I want to
worth is
get,
it?
but you
Yeah.
are a real musician at 6.
I just liked it. I just, a lot of kids, I just enjoyed it. I'm just like,
I had nuns in
I wanna
fourth
know how to
grade,
read
man.
these notes. And I liked music class in school.
Right,
I went to a
right.
parochial school and we had to
So
take
did
music.
I had
enjoyed
nuns.
it. I enjoyed learning how to read the notes. So for me, it wasn't a chore. So, and if I wanted to play accordion, I had to learn the notes. So by the time I took guitar lessons, I had no problem with a guitar teacher. My first guitar teacher just was getting me into more theory, and this, I'll tell you a great story.
Sure.
And this kind of set me up for my mentality later. The teacher I started with when I first started taking guitar lessons for the very first time moved away. So they moved me over to the other guy. And the other guy I went into his studio for the first lesson, and he didn't even ask me anything the first day. He just went into his Rolodex or his file cabinet, and he pulled out a tab of Stairway to Heaven. Just boom, just put
So
it.
he was cool.
Well, I don't know if he was cool, but he didn't ask me if I wanted to learn Stairway to Heaven. He didn't check to see what I had done with my other teacher.
Tabs.
Just tabs.
Go tab.
Boom. Stairway to Heaven, I think. Or I don't remember. It's
Not
hard to
real
remember.
music.
But I went upstairs where my parents were waiting for me afterwards. I said, I don't want to study with this guy. Because I had the feeling like it was like a cookie cutter lesson. He didn't ask me what I'd studied with my other teacher. He didn't know that I could read. I was just like, I don't think that's the path, you know? And then somebody else came in, and he was a guy by the name of Dave Souza. Like, he lived in Lowell, and I studied with him up until I went to Berkeley, and he got me in on theory.
No way.
And even though I was like a rock and pop kid at the time, like he introduced me to Joe Pass, and he showed me what jazz was, even though I wasn't ready or inclined to play it yet. You know what I mean?
Was that 12, 13?
Yeah, maybe 14 by the time I started studying with Dave. Yeah, so.
And 14 is like middle school.
Yeah, by the time I was 14, first year of high school.
Yeah. And you had what kind of equipment?
Oh my God! I think my first guitar was like a baby blue Explorer copy. It was the '80s, you know. But I think I had like a Les Paul. I think my parents bought me a Les Paul. Not the standards, but what was the other ones? Like I forget the names.
Yeah.
But for Christmas one year, I had that for a little while, and then the '80s hit, man. I had the fluorescent Ibanez.
Right, I was doing the math. This is like '86.
Yeah. But I was very much a pop and rock kid, even though like a lot of the in the mid '80s the rock stuff and the metal stuff was huge. I wasn't a kid that got into like Metallica and that sort of thing, like the pop stuff, man. Like the pop, you know, like Huey Lewis and the News.
Yeah.
Like my first guitar hero was Chris Hayes from Huey Lewis and the News, because I couldn't play the other stuff. Like I loved Van Halen.
How many guitar players know his name off the top?
I don't know.
Right, what tune is that? Yeah.
Oh, how about this? He goes, and I was like, hey, what is that? Oh, wait a minute. That's a fourth. He's playing like quarter voicings.
Yeah.
A little approach note. So as a kid, I was like, wow, I can play that. I can't play.
He was hip and very musical and lyrical, as you are. You were playing some heavy-duty jazz thing earlier today that I was listening to. Maybe it was Alice in Wonderland, but just some beautiful lyrical. Melodic stuff.
Thank you.
A lot of jazz guitar players don't.
That tune does it for you.
Well,
was it the one off my new record?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a deconstructed. So Al is
Yeah, it's just beautiful, man.
But that tune does it for you. I mean, that's written. Your creativity is there. It's in the song. You know what I mean? So, but I think my version is kind of like a little deconstructed. Right?
Yeah.
So it's like. It was kind of like, because I was heavily influenced by guys like Krantz and a lot of that type of fusion stuff.
So bands in high school, if you're 14, you got the Les Paul.
Bands, man. My generation, the second we started taking lessons, we wanted to form a band. You needed to do it for real.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I called up my best friend, and who was also just started taking keyboard lessons, and said, "We're going to start a band, man."
Right.
And we were in the basement. We couldn't play. I could play this. I don't even think I had this yet. You know what I mean? Right. And we were a band, and we played, and then in high school.
All through high school.
High school bands, always had a band.
What about high school bands with the high school, with the music teachers?
I was actually in choir.
Really?
Yeah, I was in choir because I didn't play an orchestral instrument. So.
And they had no concert band, no jazz band for a guitar part.
Not at the time.
Was this Lowell High School?
They may have, but I think you had to be in the band program.
What high school?
This was Lowell High School.
Yeah.
So. It all started like this. Like I always played guitar, and I had friends who were in the performing arts department, and they used to do these talent shows, And I was like, I want to play that talent show. Mm-hmm. And my buddy's like, well, you kind of have to be in the performing arts department. I'm like, well, what if I join chorus? And if I'm in chorus when that talent show comes around, can I play in it? He's like, yeah. So I joined chorus, but man, next thing you know, like I'm playing guitar in the show choir band, right? Mm-hmm. For the tours around Massachusetts, and I'm joining a cappella choir. You know what I mean? So I kind of caught the bug.
So this is the middle of high school.
Yeah,
like
middle of high school.
Sophomore, junior type year.
Junior, senior year. Yeah, junior, senior.
And you were still teaching, taking lessons from Sousa.
Yes.
And how was your reading at that point?
Yeah, I always read. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, but I enjoy it. You know, guitar
Right.
players say it's just like, do I need to learn to read? Well, it depends. It's like it's a skill set. It's one tool in the toolbox, right?
It's like being a carpenter. I need to, do nails.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, yeah.
Do you
you're a
read? All
carpenter.
right, where I live now in Nashville, do you need to read notation? Not necessarily,
Right,
Because
right.
the sessions is all number charts,
Right.
But I have to say, some of the most gratifying things I've ever done in my career have been because I can read music. Because if I couldn't, I never would have been able
I'm
to be
with
on
you
those
on that.
gigs. You know what I mean? It's important to me. I like having it in my arsenal. You know what I mean?
So get me to senior year.
Yeah.
That band with that keyboard player still going?
Off and on. No. I had my different band in high school, just with some kids in school. Yeah.
Yeah, were you a big man on campus? All the girls loved you. You were the hot guitar player.
Super shy.
Yeah.
Super
As
shy.
99% of guitar players
Yeah.
are. And that's why we play. Because
Yeah.
we can't talk to girls.
Yeah.
And then girls like us.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't necessarily shy with my close group of friends, but in general, yeah.
right.
And when I had to go to math class with all the really popular kids, the jocks and the cheerleaders, I was definitely shy. You know, I needed my crew. I needed my people.
How confident were you as a guitar player in senior year in high school? Considering Berkeley's looming.
You're 17 years old and you're a senior. You're going to be pretty confident in your guitar playing.
Right.
Were you
the guy in the town?
I wouldn't say that. I mean, there was another buddy of mine who also played. We came up playing in high school at the same time, and we went to Berkeley together, and it was always kind of us.
What's his name?
Matt Fetters.
Don't know.
Yeah, we were always kind of just like healthy, competitive kind of stuff in high school.
Right.
You know what I mean? So there was kind of the two of us.
And he had his own band, and they were,
Yeah, we all kind of played with the same people. And he actually started playing in like the GB circuit early. You know, he was more prepared for that than I was at the time. And then we ended up going to Berkeley together, and it was cool.
So Berkeley, 1988, you started?
1990.
1990.
I graduated high school in 90.
Right.
Yeah.
1990. So tell me about that first day.
Then you're not the big man on campus.
No doubt about that. I started in 74. I think there were 1,000 students and 998 guitar players.
Yeah.
And as Gary Burton said, was it in your bio I read? I read somewhere where Gary Burton said, Berkeley is guitar heaven to some, and
Guitar
to some
hell.
not so,
Yeah,
so
guitar-
much. Because I was a pretty good guitar player, but man,
Those
I lost a
German
little-
students come over, man.
I
and
lost a
they're-
little bit of my confidence when I first started. That very first day scared the hell out of me.
Yeah, it was that, but it was also the most exciting, energizing thing.
Yeah.
At the time. So
Did you live there, or did you?
I lived there for my first year,
Uh-huh.
and then I was just like, well, I can easily commute. You know what I mean? So I kind of
Right.
got the benefits of on-campus life.
See,
and
I didn't.
networking the
And
first
when
year.
I was there, all we had was Mass Ave,
Yeah.
which is tiny.
Yeah, yeah.
And actually, before we go into the college trip
Sure,
here, because
all
I
right.
don't want to skip anything
Whatever
here,
you wanna talk
because we have some videos here.
Whatever you wanna talk about.
Can you introduce the lily pad? We'll just play a little bit of this. It was last year at this time.
Yeah.
And again, Mike is living in Nashville. He comes home to Boston for Christmas. So can you tell me a little bit about the show and who's in it?
This is with Irvin Demo on bass and Steve Langone on drums. Fantastic.
And that guy
players.
Irvin, I looked him up. He's got like
Irvin's
5,000
incredible.
people following.
Yep.
I've never heard of him prior.
Yeah, he plays
to
with
this.
Steve Hunt in a group called Electric Market. They're incredible. But Irvin and I have known each other for years and years and years. So, we play together. We may even get together this trip and just kind of jam a little bit while I'm up. And we did this a year ago with the Lily Pad. Yeah, it was like around the time I released my new record, which came out last year.
Remind me, I
it
wanna
was kind of
talk
the
about
East Coast release party. For
Okay.
that, yeah.
Cool. And who else? Who's the drummer?
Steve Langone on
Okay.
drums.
Cool.
Yeah, who teaches
and
at
did you
Berkeley now.
rehearse stuff ahead of time, or did you
went
just wing
one
and
rehearsal.
stuff?
One
Yeah.
rehearsal, yeah,
Cool.
not much.
Okay, so for no further ado, let's hear Mike at the lily pad with his buddies. So you started Berkeley.
Yeah.
I bet you with your reading, you got pretty high ensembles.
My reading was good. I could not really navigate jazz changes very well at the time, even though I had been taking lessons.
We didn't really talk about that. You were a rock guitar player.
Yeah, I didn't really catch the jazz bug until even like mid Berkeley. See, it was a weird trip for me because I was, like I said, I was very much into commercial music and pop, and then when the hard rock came out, it was way into like Winger and Extreme and all the guitar heroes like Vi and Satriani, obviously, you know. Berkeley, the first 2 years, I was just, man, I cannot tell you how elated I was. I was so happy. It was just, I get to take ear training and I get to take arranging courses and I get to study with some of the best players on the planet who are on the faculty. And then, like yourself, I was a music ed major.
Right.
So it's like the second half of my training at Berkeley was kind of like marching band methods and this and that. Bill, I wasn't brave enough to not get an ed degree. I was a little
talk
scared.
about that. Why? Because I know why.
Because I wanted a gig. I wanted a job.
Getting a real job. And he's a professor now.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I bet you it would have been harder to get that professor job without a music ed degree and a master. Well, you need a master's.
Minimum. Yeah.
But that music ed degree, it's a little. If I'm interviewing a guy, I kind of want that. You know.
Am I going to be honest with you? Did I enjoy it? I didn't enjoy
No, I
marching
didn't
band.
either, man. But I convinced my father. It's like, I'll get a music job. You know, you'll have benefits, and you know, and
I didn't have the guts. I didn't have the guts to just go the performance route and then go to an LA.
Halfway through,
I wasn't ready.
Halfway through, I had did you know Larry Bayonne?
Yes.
Larry's a good friend of mine to this day. I still talk to Larry. And I went to Larry. I'm there, man. I want to go to performance. He said, Bill, no. Get the music degree.
Yeah. And
because I think he knew that I wasn't good enough for the performance.
Well,
Larry.
That might not be the case. I mean, and I did get a job teaching public school right when I got out of school, and I hated it. I hit the ground running.
Yeah.
I mean, God bless the people there; they're all wonderful people. But
I know
it wasn't for me, and I hit the ground running as soon as I got my grad degree. So so all that time, it's like. By mid-Berkeley, I had, of course, been exposed to jazz from prior teachers.
Right.
I went to Berkeley. Of course, I was exposed to it, right? But I just felt like I couldn't do it yet. Like, it seemed too daunting. And
because I listen to your style now, man. It's serious level jazz, all kinds of...
Well, it's like...
I call illegal notes. He plays a lot of illegal notes. Pull over here. What was that Sharp 11 you just did? That's not allowed here.
It changed later where I really made a commitment to that. But there was a teacher at Berkeley, John Wilkins, and I remember...
Don't know him.
You know John Wilkins? He retired.
John Finn.
I know John as well. But my teacher was... And I stuck with John Wilkins for the majority of my time there because one day I went to a lesson and I said, man, it's just like I really wish I could sound like those jazz guys.
Yeah.
And he's like, but man, you do sound like those jazz guys. I'm like, what do you mean? I said, I don't sound like anything like that. And he's like, well, this is why you do. And he started like pulling the curtain back of what improvisation was and what understanding harmony was and what they're really doing. So I'm like, oh, maybe this is attainable. You know what I mean? So it was, I started getting into it more. And then after graduating, I was still chasing it, man. I was still playing in rock bands. Then grunge hit, so you're chasing the latest thing. I want the record deal. I got to cut my hair to a bob because it's like now the early 90s. And now the electronica thing is in. So we got to, you know what I mean? So, man, I'll never forget it. Is like I was at rehearsal one day with the band, whatever band I was trying to chase the dream with at the time. And it just hit me like it's like those things in the movies where just like everything just kind of goes slow. You know what I mean? Like I looked down at my instrument, I was just playing like the same power chords over and over again.
Drive you crazy.
And I was like, what am I doing here?
Right.
It's like, what am I doing? It's like, I've spent all this time and it's like, I feel like I really don't know this thing 100% yet. And it hit me like a brick, man. The next week I cut my hair, I enrolled in graduate school. And the guys in the groups I was playing were already kind of getting aggravated with me because I was kind of putting like, I was kind of doing like some lines.
I get that. I've gotten that all the time.
It was the 90s. What were the solos? Like,
right.
And here I was like, you know what I mean? Like putting in like.
That was nice, man.
You know, like, so it's just like, Mike, screw that jazz stuff, man. Stop. And so it's like I already.
Sometimes it doesn't fit.
Well, it didn't.
Yeah,
probably
major
didn't
sevens don't fit.
And they were probably right. But
Van
my
Halen
ears
song.
were going to this place, and my heart was going to this place, and and that's where
And
graduate
it took a lot of
school came
courage
in.
because
Yeah.
as a working musician, you essentially got to play whatever the job is. It's like being
Yeah.
a cook. I want a hamburger. No, you don't. You want the filet mignon.
Right.
No, I want a cheeseburger.
Yeah. Well, in professional settings, of course, and that's something you learn over time, is like when to do certain things
Right.
and when not to. But, at this stage of the game, I was in my 20s still, and so I had to make a decision on what I was going to do. Was I going to keep...
Why masters though? That's kind of
All right,
odd.
all right. Well, that's a great question, because it was important to me. You know what I mean? It's like everyone.
Did you need a master's?
Part of me always in the back of my mind say I would like to teach something at the collegiate level someday, because I so admired my teachers. Like you mentioned John Finn, right?
Right.
John Finn's a monster, man. Like, and he was like a kind of like younger
Try to
teacher
get him on the
when I
show
was
and
there.
not been able to yet.
And he's like this burning like shredder guy, but he plays with the Boston Pops.
I know.
He can do,
And he
you know
can
what I mean?
read
and then
upside down.
and then he's teaching me sight reading at Berkeley. So I was like looking at these guys. I'm like, how cool is this, man? They're like guys that I admire from a playing perspective, and they also get to go to a college every day and like teach this thing. you
But
know?
not one of them has a master's.
Well,
I guarantee you.
Yeah, it depends where you teach. It depends.
Right.
I'm at Belmont University. You can't be there without a master's minimum. You can't get tenure track without a doctorate. So in a lot of places,
That was my next question.
Yeah.
Are you looking at a PhD?
The PhD is not for me. So
Okay.
there's where I had to make the decision. So after my grad work, again, it was important to me to have that. So
Right.
then what was important to me? The PhD didn't come out on top. It's like what was important to me was like the trenches of music.
What year did you graduate with the master's?
This was probably 98.
98.
Yeah. So it was more important to me to just play gigs, stay here, play in wedding bands, funk bands, my own
And
original
teach.
trio, jazz
Probably
trio.
at the same time.
Teach.
Teaching privately.
Yep.
So you're able to.
And I was always teaching.
In
I
our
left the
world.
public school job. I taught at Malden Catholic after that.
Okay.
So I was
you
teaching.
did.
I was teaching
so you
at
had a
Malden Catholic.
legit with benefits.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, that was a great place.
how long did you teach there?
10 years.
Oh, I had no idea. That was not part
great
of your
memories.
bio.
I made friends for life there. It was amazing, but still not the exact thing I wanted to be teaching. You know what I mean? So I needed to
But
move
it
on
gives
from
you
that
a
too.
real income.
Yeah.
As opposed to 90% of musicians are patching things together,
Yeah.
and you're patching students, and
Yeah.
it's
And
very hard.
And I did teach privately too. You know what I mean?
Right.
But
So you really had 3 jobs.
yeah, I had a
essentially.
million jobs. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like when what was important to me was this.
Right.
So I went back to private study. I called up Bruce Bartlett.
Yeah,
who's
and
a
I've tried to get
local
Bruce on this
legend,
show,
and I
and-
studied with him for 3 years, and he got me ready.
You're
for
my 4th or 5th guy to study with that guy.
Bruce is amazing, man.
Yeah.
Bruce is amazing.
How is he doing now? Is he okay?
Seen him some a couple years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, when I was teaching summer sessions, and he was there.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was great. You
Yeah.
know, he's a good dude.
And what did he teach you?
Humility.
Oh, really? Yeah. And I don't know his playing at all.
He taught me. He taught me where I was jiving and what I really need to do. He put me on track. The work that really needed to be done: transcription, learning the language. Like if you want to do this thing, if you want to do jazz.
transcription. I know you're friends with Scott Turulli.
Yeah,
Scott's a
yeah.
buddy, and I've had him on
And he
this
studied
show.
with Bartlett too.
Right.
Yeah.
I know he did, and he did all that transcription stuff. I'm
Yeah.
like, how do you do it?
One note at a time.
Yeah.
One note at a time.
And it probably teaches like, oh, that's the scale he's using there on that weird
Yeah,
chord.
it's not even scales, man. It's like scales are just that's a big thing.
Yeah,
if
right.
I get on scales, like, all right, my scales are illusions. I'm going to say it on TV. Scale. There's no such thing as a scale. A scale is a construct of our imagination, right? This. What is that? That is this.
Yeah.
That's a major 7 chord. Is what
Right.
this, and then what else is it? It's another 3 notes. 2 of them sound beautiful over that chord, and one of them wants to move. Right? So in academia, we take all of that information. When somebody says, "What do you think of when you play a C major 7 chord?" I say, "I think C major 7." You know, I don't think a scale. I think C
Right.
major 7. But
Right.
look, I mean, it's academia. We have to teach this stuff in a regimented way, so we teach that scale. You know, so it's C Ionian scale. You know what I mean? We have to
Yeah.
look at everything from the point of harmony. So I think transcription, those guys weren't thinking scales, man. They were thinking the tune. They were thinking composition. They were teaching voice leading. They were thinking art. They were thinking about
Creation.
what they wanted to sound like over the structure of that song. I can't play if I think scales.
Yeah.
Will I hit wrong notes once in a while? Yeah. So what?
Yeah.
So I hit a wrong note. I probably hit some in the opening thing we played, and the world didn't come crashing down around me. You know what I mean? So it's what transcription teaches us is, number one, ears, the thought process of a player, vocabulary. Because look, I can learn an entire Bill Evans solo, but I'm not going to remember the whole Bill Evans solo.
Right.
What will I remember? You know what I remember from Bill Evans is maybe like one little lick I heard him do on a half diminished chord. Bill would treat that chord like an F minor major 7, you know, or started from the flat 5 with like a natural 9 as an approach. You see what I mean? So I remember one little thing I learned from a Bill Evans solo.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But
so
it's a little. It's like being a cook. It's like that little thing you learn from that chef. I'm going to use on this dish.
And then it becomes lifestyle. It's not. And nowadays I don't have time to do full transcriptions. But if I hear something that I don't recognize, I'll go home and I'll figure it out, rather than just saying, "Oh, I wish I could do that." You know, that's what separates one type of player from another type of player, is the need and the want to assimilate that stuff. That's what I learned from Bruce. And then I went to Charlie, and then that was that's the life changer.
We could go for
I don't know if
3 hours
there's enough time to talk
Let me
about.
tell us about this navigation with Keith Carlock. And again, like I was telling Mike earlier today, I don't really focus on drummers, but I saw Steely Dan last year, and I saw this drummer I couldn't stop watching. It was scary. It was his drums sound unbelievable, and it was Keith Carlock. And you're getting to play with us. Tell us about navigation.
This clip, if I know the one you're going to play, is from Rudy's Jazz Room in Nashville. It's like our proper tried and true jazz club that we have down there. And this isn't with my group. This is with a fantastic piano player by the name of Michael Whitaker. And he's from, you know, he moved to Nashville from Los Angeles. He's a phenomenal film scorer, and he's got that like LA fusion thing like happening. So this was with his group. I think he's off to the side in this clip. You won't even get a chance to see Michael. But this is with Adam Nitti on bass, and Keith Carlock was on drums for that gig.
Okay, with no further ado. Okay, so folks, we are back. We ended in 1998. What year did you move to Nashville?
2009.
Okay, so that's that 10-year front that you were doing Malden Catholic, doing GB bands, playing with my buddy Andre, doing that, you know, making a half-decent living. You know? And you're not a kid in 2009. What year is that? How old are you?
I was 37 when I moved
37, that's...
It was an age I would not advise somebody to move to Nashville.
Right. It's like what... I actually wrote an article in the alumni Berkeley thing about staying in Boston, trying to advocate for staying in Boston. But nobody is. They're moving to Nashville, number one. LA and New York, the other two. But Nashville is the hottest scene for A to Z music. I bet you there's hip-hop there.
There's everything there
and
now.
There's everything there.
Everything there now. Don't let that country music thing fool you. There's everything.
So I'm skipping those 10 years. Bring me to the decision, because I think there was a woman involved too. Were you married?
I was with the girl that I'm now married to.
Right,
we moved down there together.
So you get her, honey, we're moving, and she's probably your same age,
She was into
right?
it because she was into the whole country thing before I was. She had already been going down there. She was already exploring
And
options.
I love Nashville. I played, one of the girls, I have a duo that's pretty popular around Boston. I play with everybody, but I play with a lot of Berkeley kids, and one has become famous, Ingrid Andress.
I know who that
she
is.
just, 2 Grammy noms, you know, a bunch of AMAs, ACAs, and CMAs, just opened for Keith Urban worldwide. She's
Great.
right on the cusp.
Good for
Now
her.
she's doing her next thing,
hard to
but she
do.
doesn't reply to my emails anymore.
I'm sure that's
but,
not personal. It
She
gets a little-
did that, and I played NAMM down there with her.
Yeah.
Got invited to NAMM, and it's funny because I got out and I stayed at the Sheraton. I got out, and it was at night, like 9, 10 o'clock. I'm there. I know there's music around here. I don't know. You know, so I didn't realize. So I walk around the corner. Oh, here's Broadway.
Yeah.
I've heard about that on
Right.
music.
Yeah.
And I go to one place. Unbelievable, man.
Yeah.
Next place, better.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
You go down to the river, and then you cross the street, and you do it again. This is back when I was drinking. I don't
What year
drink-
was this?
I don't drink anymore. That was 2014.
Okay. Yeah. It's drastically different now.
Oh, really?
It's madness. It's madness down there. It's one big debauchery, big
I mean,
bachelorette
I
party.
loved it, and that was back when I was drinking.
It's still
and,
cool. There's still
so
amazing
if you drink
music.
it, one drink in every bar, and you've gone to 17 bars. You guys can do the math.
There is
And
an undercurrent outside of that tourist scene, though.
I
that
know,
you
and I
should
just
see.
didn't know
Yeah.
where to go,
Yeah.
and I had
There's
just
amazing,
did that
amazing
concert,
music.
and then that was. But I absolutely loved it, and if
Yeah.
I was a 22-year-old Berkeley graduate student
That's where I wanna
graduating,
go.
I would go there right away and
There's
make sure
work. There's
you're
work.
good, because you know this is how good the guys are down there. This is what you're up against.
Well, you haven't heard
Okay,
me play any country.
So moving to Nashville, starting a career.
Yeah. So
Discuss.
So my wife now, my girlfriend then already had her sights on the place. So it was a lot easier for us to move down
Right.
together. I had hit a brick wall here. I didn't know what else to do. I had
Yeah.
already kind of done it all. There was no.
And Mike, you would be doing what you were doing back then today.
That was my point. You know.
Thank God you moved.
And it was only this. It wasn't for like fame or. I've worked this hard, and I always wanted to know if my hard work could make a difference in one of the 3 musical areas of the trifecta, either
Right.
New York, LA, or Nashville. It's like, do I have something to offer?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not about me going down there and saying, oh, this new guy came to town, right? Because that doesn't happen, you know?
In 2009, you said you moved
Yeah,
out?
yeah.
And that was right at the beginning of social media, so you
Yeah.
didn't have that to
I
kind of
wasn't
get your
even on
name
social,
out.
barely on social media at that time. Yeah, no, we knew like 1 or 2 people, and that's it.
That
we
was
knew
it.
nobody, and it doesn't. Man, I'll tell you that everyone wants the advice on Nashville. The number one thing to know is that there is no roadmap. We can get 100 people in this room right now and ask them the same question,
Right.
what to do when you get there, and they'll all give you different answers. It's like their path was completely
I bet
different.
you could be helpful to some Berkeley kids today doing a presentation to
Just
maybe
be
the guitar
patient.
department.
Yeah, be patient. Be patient. I can tell you the biggest mistake, especially from people that come from the Northeast, because we're go-getters. Here's
Right.
my card. Here's my card. This is name
right.
drop. Name drop. Here's what I've done, dude. They'll shut you down. It is. You got to go.
That's a culture thing.
It's a cultural thing. You got to go down there and chill out, hang out. The town will figure out where to put you. I always joke. It's got a mind of its own. It's like the island on Lost. You know what I mean? It's just
Right.
like letting Nashville. Because I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was open to like getting a sideman gig. I was open to sessions.
Because you're obviously not a country guy.
Moving up there, I worked the country chops like you wouldn't
so you
believe
got
before
some
I
of
moved. I
that,
don't know how much is left. There's not much twang left in this telly.
Right.
This telly is
That's a
actually like a
beautiful
good.
telly, man.
It's a good metaphor for my journey because I bought it when I moved down there, practiced all the country stuff, and now there's like it's all modified so that this is my jazz guitar now. So it's like full circle. You know what I mean? But yeah, man, a lot of people come down there too strong, the town will shut you down quick. Hang out. Be ready for a 10-year ride before you feel like you've got your feet under you. If you can't do that, it's not for you.
Yeah.
You know, and eventually your gifts will bubble to the surface, and people will know who you are. You'll find your crew. You'll find your like-minded compatriots, like I did, and then before you know it, you found a little niche. We're getting close to the point where there's not enough room for everybody, but at the moment, I think that there's still enough room
And
for
costs are
everybody.
going up.
Yes, they
Housing's
are.
going up.
Yep.
So you can't, get that $200 a month room,
No.
right? You know?
But at the moment, I think there's still enough room for everybody if you just stick it out and you let your gift shine, and you'll find where you belong. And for me, it was back to what I always enjoyed playing, and in those circles. And
you have to have a gift. You know, that's another thing that sometimes musicians. There was a great
You have to have work
in
ethic.
music ed. I don't think he was there. There was this real mean guy who taught secondary education. I forget his name right now, but he was brutal and a brutal jazz guy, and I was more rock. You know, I mean, I got into the jazz thing eventually too, but he would go. You know what? You look it right in the eye. That accounting degree at Northeastern is available still for you.
God bless him. He was telling you the truth.
Because
he was telling you the truth.
Today, I mean, what's Berkeley cost? $60,000 a year?
A lot.
60 times 4, 240 grand. Round that up to 260, 270 grand for a music degree. What is that ROI?
Yeah.
I really wonder about that versus finding today's Charlie Banacos. That might be better.
I get asked that question a lot. It depends. What is important to you? Why do you want the degree?
Right.
Is it, all right, do you want to teach school? Do you want you know what I mean? There's certain areas where the degree is going to help you.
In life.
Or it's just a personal goal. Or do you want music school for the connections to, there? Can you make connections outside of music school? Of course. You can move to Nashville right away and not go to music school and make connections, but some people prefer kind of that homogeneous environment where you can meet other kids and just kind of start playing. So it's not a good or bad. It's just what is right for you. And it's changed drastically than I was there. I'm a tough love guy, man. You tell me the tough love stories.
Right.
I love that.
Yeah, I was a football player, and my toughest coach was the guy I learned the most from.
This is one of the hardest things you can go into. And if you can't handle a professor with that old school mentality telling you the truth, then you're probably not cut out.
He's doing you a favor.
You're not cut out for this thing, because it's brutal.
Right.
And I'm not gonna sit here and sugarcoat, that Nashville is easy. Nashville, the first few years, you were gonna struggle, man.
And what'd you do? Go into that.
I struggled. We both did. I didn't have my
get a
job
regular
at
straight
Belmont.
teaching gig?
I started teaching. I still could sub public school, so I subbed public school, and I scrounged, and I tried to meet people. I went to jams at night, and I took every country cover gig, like doing like week stints in southern Georgia.
I would imagine with your Malden Catholic sort of experience, you'd be able to get a secondary job, no problem.
I didn't want to.
You didn't want it. Okay,
because
cool.
I didn't
I
didn't want to move to now. Otherwise, why did I move there? I didn't want to get a full-time teaching gig because I wanted to work.
Right.
I wanted to work the scene. That was the whole point. Is just like, did I do good enough on this that I can offer something here?
I read somewhere in your bio,
You know?
somewhere along the line, maybe I saw some interviews with you and stuff like that, where you got away eventually from the cover thing and said, I'm going to be the Mike Trio, and I'm going to do my original stuff. When did that happen?
Probably around graduate school here.
Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to explore composition and that sort of thing, and improvisation. So the beginnings of the origins of my own original project were here, like during graduate.
Will you take
school.
a sideman gig now? Doing,
Well, is Sting calling?
Yeah, no, I'm talking about play. Come on, celebration. Like someone gives you $1,000 to play a wedding.
You
Will
mean
you
like
do it?
wedding gigs?
Yeah.
Oh, I've done them. Oh,
Yep,
yeah.
even to this day.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I have no problem being a working musician. Those gigs are actually more coveted down there than you might think. There's not as many as there are here.
And guess what?
And they travel great distances.
It used to be 80-20 bands to DJs. Now it's 80-20 DJs to bands.
Yeah.
My daughter's getting married next June, and a discounted rate is $7,000 for a band. Retail price is $12,000.
Yeah. No, I have no problem doing this. I do, pit band gigs still once in a while. So that's just a living. I have no problem doing.
Are you in the union down there?
I was. I'm not anymore. I don't have a need to be at the moment. The way things are going, the session scene is not what it used to be. everyone's kind of doing sessions out of their house now,
Right,
and the
right.
same guys that were doing it 30 years ago
Are
are
still
still
doing
the
it.
guys that are still doing it. So
See,
it didn't make much
they
sense
want
for
the
me to
baby
be in the
boom
union.
generation to retire. Get out of here. So tell me more.
that's not
So
the
you're
same. Yeah.
you're struggling down there.
Yeah.
Take me more through. When did you break through? Because from everything I've read, you've broken through now.
Well, I guess. I guess like 5 years ago, I felt like my footing was under me.
2017.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. So where both my wife and I both felt like, okay, I think we've got our niche here, and we're not like worried about making a living, and things are okay, and we could see a path forward. Like this is only going to build now through what we've put forth. But the turning point, I probably have to thank. Do you know Dino Monoxolis?
No.
All right, he's an amazing bass player he lives in New Hampshire, but he's from here, and he taught in MI for a while. But I've known Dino for years, and he's the national Ampeg rep for. I already said it for Ampeg. He's a national artist rep for Ampeg, and he's like, when you go down there, look up my buddy Roy Vogt and look up this guy, and I looked up these guys and just kind of befriended them. We started playing together, and ironically, one of the guys I met through Dino came out to see me play this. It was like a country gig. I was playing in the house band, and his name was Roy Vogt, and he came out and he's like, man, I didn't know you played any country. I thought you only played jazz. I'm like, well, I can get by on it. And he's like, well, we need somebody at Belmont to do like the country stuff, right? So initially I was hired at Belmont to cover like commercial country styles.
Right.
And then
Oh, really?
Yeah, but no kid was coming to me to learn commercial country styles. They all wanted to learn improvisation and how to play over changes. So I ended up being that guy at Belmont over time.
And again, getting that college gig frees you up to do what you really want to do, because you're making real money, you have a real position, and you don't have to do the $50 gigs.
Yeah, I could concentrate on creatively what I wanted to do the most. Yeah, and Belmont's a great program. We've got a great guitar faculty. I'm thrilled to be there. It's a good job. Yeah.
Would you ever consider, if you got a gig at Berkeley, coming back here?
Ooh.
Is that something you don't want to talk about? Yeah.
It would.
I mean, because this will go to on YouTube.
It would. Well, that would have to be a discussion.
Right.
On many levels. I don't know.
mean, but
that's too much of a hypothetical for me to wrap my head around.
Right, and you're in the hippest. Why would you do it? You'd be in the hippest.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I know those people there still. It's like Berkeley's incredible. That faculty is second to none, man. I know a lot of the people.
It's such a different school, man, than when I was there. 1,000 students. It was a commuter kind of trade school.
Yeah.
It was really a trade school.
Yeah. So
now it's worldwide now.
Yeah. We never say never. I mean, the whole thing with me and my wife, it was always like we'll just give it another year. We're not going to say we're going to be here forever. We're not going to say we're going to move home tomorrow. Let's just see how it goes. So it's just always been, let's just kind of ride it and see what happens, you know? And so far it's worked out great. Am I saying I'm going to be there for the rest of my life? I have no idea. You know, right now it's cool. And
so talk about current things.
All
the
right.
current project, the new album.
Yeah, new album came out. I guess it's still new. It came out last year, but you really got to work things now.
But I noticed you have a new single.
That new single is an old single that I did 25 years ago, because I was a Steve Morse and Dixie Dregs fanatic when I was in graduate school.
I played with T. Lavitz.
T. Lavitz.
He played in the wedding with me.
Yeah.
He was a sub.
Yeah.
And I'm there. T. Lavitz.
Yeah.
And we're playing Autumn Leave, Autumn Leave. And he's there. I'm there. Who is this guy? It's a long story. I'll tell you off camera about that.
I've met him, a few times before
good
he
guy.
passed.
Steve Moore. It's funny because I saw your album cover of that, and I'm a pilot. I've been a pilot for 35 years, and I know Morse code. And I'm like, oh, that's Morse.
It says Morse code.
Morse code.
Yeah.
It didn't take me long, but I was like, especially when you see the O and the S's, it's like, oh, that must mean Morse code.
So that was done 25 years ago. I just did a tribute song to do my best impression of the Dixie Dregs, and I found it. And I was just like, let me re-release it 25 years later. So that's actually the oldest thing I have available for purchase. I was a little unsure at first. I'm like, well, Pete, because I don't sound like that anymore at all. If you listen to that guy, it sounds nothing like me,
Do you know a guy, Greg Koch? Is that his name?
I don't know him, but he's a monster.
He has a great podcast. I'm a podcast fiend.
Yeah, I've listened
to
that.
he just interviewed Jimmy Herring.
Something about the Gristle. The Gristle is the name of the podcast.
Yeah, and he just interviewed Jimmy Herring, who's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And who's was his influence?
Yep.
Steve Morse in the Dregs.
Oh, yeah, I can see that, of course.
So tell me more than what's happening today.
Today, well, yeah, that record came out. So a lot of the stuff I've done musically over the last year has been in support of that to really make, because it's harder than ever. You know what I mean? There's so much white
Right.
noise out there for music.
Right,
So,
we can talk off camera on that because it's so easy to get recorded. When I did my first album, it cost me $20,000, and me and the guys in the band.
Yeah.
And the video, which got on MTV in '84 twice, that cost us 20 grand.
what was the band? that you played?
And the name of the band, you'd love most musicians. Struggle was the name of the band.
Okay,
If
yeah.
you're a musician, you can.
How apropos, right?
But it's you don't have to pay 40 grand for a product now. But the point is, it's a deluge. And back in those days, if you didn't get a record contract, it was over.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
first shot, when you're starting to make it, you just disbanded
That's
and
right.
tried it
That's
again.
right. Yeah.
Today, it's the opposite thing. You can get your music out, you can get, but there's a deluge of stuff.
Yeah.
There's so
yeah.
much out
It's
there.
like, then what? you know?
So, are you going to tour in support of that?
Touring the music. I mean,
Well, when you're teaching, that's tough.
I play, well,
You could do it in the
touring
summer.
the type of records that I do may not necessarily be that cost effective. Even look at guys
Right.
the guys that I would consider my contemporaries in the type of music I do, like whether it be Oz Noy or Wayne Krantz or
Right.
Scott Henderson. It's tough for them too. Like Scott
I-
doesn't even tour in the U.S. that much. He tours in Europe.
I was doing the math. TCAN's a great little place around here in Natick called the Center for the Arts in Natick, 200-seat type thing. Larry Carlton plays there.
Great, yeah.
Robin Ford plays there. Robin came on a Wednesday night, filled half. And I'm like,
The
30
rhythm
bucks,
sections on my record are probably on that gig because they play
30,
with Robin.
30 bucks. Right, I'm at $3 grand. Okay, they probably got 20% room. $2 grand divided by 3 guys. It's like,
Yeah.
And they had a tour bus. Okay, got a tour bus. I'm like, okay, this doesn't work.
Yeah,
And mathematically, it does not
It's-
work
it's
for
difficult.
Robin Ford.
Yeah, yeah. It's difficult. So with me, the records are just, it really is purely creative. Like they come out, like if there's something I need to say, I've got to do the record. Like the new record is almost entirely just twisted versions of standards and songs that I really like.
Yep.
Like you mentioned Nardis, like my version of Nardis on the record comes from like an Instagram clip that I posted. And I didn't even think about what I did, but I added like weird bars of this and weird bars of this until people started emailing me and saying, what the heck is that? What did I do? You know what I mean? But it's going through these weird kind of 9/8 and 7/8 with like an underlying 4. But I didn't even realize I did any of that till I had to go and analyze it. So that put me on this chart. I was like, wow, I think I have something to say with these types of tunes. So now I need to get that out. There was never a concern of I'm going to tour this or it's just. We're creatives, right? That stuff needs to come out of us. So that's that record, and I'm trying to play as many gigs as I can behind it, and is what it is.
Okay, let's, it was great having Mike on. You have to make a promise. Next Christmas, let's do part 2.
That'd be awesome.
That'd
be awesome.
And I actually have a jam. Let's fade out on a jam here. It's E minor. You'll find it immediately. See you next time.